How you doing?
Doing well. I'm doing well. I got something to share.
I'm glad,
Actually.
and I want to also take this opportunity to thank you for the work you're doing. It's a fine, fine job. You hear me? Editing the classes and what
Thank
have you.
you.
You hear me? Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bless
so
your
much.
soul, son. Okay, go ahead and share.
Yeah, it's just something ongoing I mentioned from time to time, and it's kicked up a lot since I got on the boat again, and it's just that the number 9 been following me around a lot ever since I came
I
to the
love it.
boat. And for instance, the day I got to the boat was 414, 414. And
9.
they gave me a card, and the last 3 numbers on the card is 144. And they give us a lot of different numbers for a lot of different reasons here because it's a lot of crew members. But some of the numbers that are associated with my name are 171, 378, which is 18. I'm assigned to lifeboat number 19.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Different things like
Yeah,
that.
I get a lot of
that,
19. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just it's for me. It's like assurance. I feel like assurance, protection. That's what I feel when I see that.
That you dial it in, you dial in. What it is, you beginning to live your best life, Chad. Please mute your phone.
No, I hear you. Thank you.
You hear me? Chad?
Yes, I hear you, Tawakum. Yes.
Okay, yes. You begin to live your best life. That's what it is. Thank you. Do you have anything you want to share with the class that's constantly expanding for them?
I would say stay positive. I do a lot of the Om chanting, and that's been helping me a lot with any sort of maybe pain or discomfort I might feel in the body, tiredness, anything like that. I do a lot of the Om chanting and the Amun chanting, and that's been helping me a lot. I've been taking gold. I take the gold a lot. I like to take it and then go out in the sun or maybe do some exercise after I take it to get it pumping through my veins.
How do you supply? You need some more gold, son?
No, I'm good actually. I'm good with gold.
Okay.
I'm very good with gold. I've been keeping myself healthy. I've been taking certain things, definitely probiotics to help with digestion because the food out here ain't the best, honestly. It's cheap quality. They feed a lot of people, so they go for the lowest quality stuff a lot of the time. So I stay up with my probiotics, chlorella and chlorophyll, things like that. I take garlic pills, which always help me in anytime I'm feeling any sort of symptoms coming on as far as flu or something like that. The 4 years I took off from COVID taught me a lot of myself and how to keep myself healthy and keep myself going. And now that I'm able to translate it back into this environment, I feel great, honestly. I haven't faced a lot of the trials that I used to face when I was doing this before COVID, getting sick often and that type of thing. So that the 4 years off definitely helped me. And of course raising my spirituality, raising my vibration with the class and all, that's definitely opened up another avenue of conscious expansion for me. I'm looking at things totally different now, and it's really coming through in my work. Being able to deal with people, different temperaments and different people from different parts of the world, and people are coming to me for advice. And a friend of mine here, she's from Zimbabwe. She says I'm like a guardian angel to her. She looks at me like a guardian angel.
Zimbabwe, the old land.
Yeah, exactly. Old Rhodesia. A lot of folks from Zimbabwe working here now.
Used to be
we actually had an Africa Day celebration yesterday. Right, yeah. Very beautiful souls from there. I haven't met a I haven't met an a-hole from there yet, you know. Very beautiful people.
Well.
So yeah, it's been a.
Well, I'm just glad you're back on that water again, man. And you primarily, your stops are primarily in resorts in the tropics, like Jamaica and places like that, right? Caribbean.
Right now we going back and forth to the Bahamas. We only going to the Bahamas on this boat.
Could I kind of say that descriptively, but, you work on the Love Boat?
Yeah, you can say that.
Is that a reasonable assumption?
A lot of things happen. It is a reasonable assumption. Actually, yeah, it's safe to say a lot of things go on.
You get your issue of vitamin C from the sun, though, right?
Oh yeah, I'm in the sun a lot. I'm in the sun a whole lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. You swimming?
I'm in the sun a whole lot every day. No, I haven't gotten the chance to go in the ocean yet, but I was planning on doing that soon.
But when you get around a palm tree, introduce yourself and introduce me to him too, because I want to envision you stretched out on one of those long lawn chairs, you know, and some of them Tahitian girls fanning you, and you drinking one of those Mai Tais with the umbrella, you know what I mean? With the surf coming in and splashing against the rocks and the mist blowing over you. You know what I'm trying to say?
That's a beautiful vision, and
it's seeing a rainbow through the mist. Yeah. And just guarding yourself against the coconuts falling. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is the new disciple here from Texas? That energetic, bright young man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm glad to hear it. All right. Do you have a spiritual experience you'd like to share with us, or a question you'd like to ask to begin with?
I do have a spiritual experience, but it's not recently. And
that's all right. It doesn't have to be.
Questions.
In the spirit, time is not relevant in the spirit, son.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, speak up loud. Well, let us hear.
On one of my experiences, I was in my backyard in my dream.
Can you speak up louder?
Yes. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but we need to have you protected. You got to protect your voice. You're gonna start teaching people to protect.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hold on, I can't hear y'all. It's that y'all are quiet. Okay, I'm gonna leave and then join right back. Yeah, I can't hear. That's it.
In fact, I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. As I'm sure we all are, huh?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Just always protect your voice.
Yes, sir. Is this better?
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, my experience was I was in a backyard, and in the distance, I seen two crabs, and they looked like they were police in the area. And then in the dream, I wanted them to come to me, but I didn't know how to get their attention. So I clapped twice, and at that point, that's when they started making their way towards me. And then when that happened, I turned around. My brother was getting picked up, and I wanted to get picked up. So I ran over there. I missed a
little bit of what you said. I heard you say that you was out in the backyard and you saw some crabs, and they were circulating, and you wanted to bring them to you. And what did you say? You clapped a couple times and they started coming your way?
Yes, sir.
And then you said your brother was out there or something? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. He was out there in the dream with me. And then I don't know why I didn't run, but I started speed walking the other way until I see my brother getting picked up. I was like, no. And then I wanted to get picked up, so I ran over there under the where the vortex where he was getting picked up at. And it was like you couldn't breathe once you were in it. And then when we're making our way up, we're going down and up. I was trying to pick my brother up with me because he was dropping as we were trying to get picked up. And then when I made my way inside of the ship, I seen a man, and looked like he was at a control panel. And I tapped him on the shoulder.
Slow down a little bit, son. just speak up and slow down. So it's very important we understand everything you're saying.
Yes, sir. I said, once the shit made its way towards me, like it had like red, blue lights flashing from it off in the distance.
What was the shape of the craft?
There were circles, 2 circles. They looked like.
Was it translucent or was it fully metallic or was it translucent? Like a
no, they were like
craft.
They're black, and they looked like they had coils around it, like a Tesla coil if it was black and flattened out. And in the middle, that's where it was like white, where it just looked at white in the middle of the craft. The 2 crafts.
And you said something about a vortex.
Yes, sir. Like where they were, the pickup area, like the little circle, like the little area they were picking us up at.
In the middle of the craft?
Yes, sir.
Now, was that craft shaped like a bell, like a crown, or anything like that?
No, sir. It was flat, more like a plate shape of a plate, like flat.
Okay.
Huge.
Okay.
Flat.
It was huge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did the vortex feel anything like the wind blowing?
It felt like there was like no source of no. It wasn't even wind. It was just super fluent. It felt like there was nothing, no resistance in the air. Like when you move your hand in the air now, you feel some type of pressure. When you did it inside the vortex, there was no type of like resistance against the wind.
Okay. So were you actually taking aboard the craft?
Yes, sir.
Could you describe what you experienced and saw?
It was like a doggy door when I first entered the craft, and I've seen like multiple tables on both sides of the room, but off to my right when I first entered the craft, I seen a man. He was like at a control panel, like he was doing something, but he was in the dark.
Describe the man, please. Could you describe the man?
He was about, since I'm 6 foot, I would say like 6'7" tall, and then he had a garb on.
Wow, yeah, okay.
And he had a helmet. And then touched him on the shoulder to get his attention. He took the helmet off, turns around, and then that's when the dream ended.
Did you see him at all? Did you see what nationality or race he was, or species?
Yeah, he was a black man with like a shorter afro.
All right. And he was tall, almost 7 feet tall. Yeah.
Yes, sir. He was taller than me, for sure.
I follow you. I know what you mean. I've met him a lot taller than me, and I'm over 6 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty tall.
And they're definitely black. You can believe that. I know on television they keep trying to depict them as white, but that's not what I see out there. I met some Pleiadians one time, 2 men and a woman, and I met a Pleiadian kind of, I guess, in a spiritual sense. And he was like a white animation or something, but everybody I've met out there was black to date, to memory. You follow me? Either that or a reptile.
Yes,
you know? Yeah. And speaking of, I know everybody's familiar with Planet Babianu. Well,
yes,
let me see. He makes statements around the world that he and I are one, we're just alike, we're the same, etc. And I know in many instances we are, but in some I don't really agree with that. But in all that's positive, I do. But he tells everybody that he's from Sirius. Sirius, I know it's Sirius B, the one that the Dogon tribes of Bali speak about, right? The Dogon priest, if anybody's familiar with them. And he says that me, Amun-Re, I'm from Sirius and Orion. You know, and Greek or any language, Uranus or Orion is described as heaven. Right?
Yes,
but in Sirius, you have to know there's some very different natured beings there. I can't speak for the whole star system, but I know that the Bar al-Malaikat, or ugly river beings that came down in the rivers in Mali that went up and went into the daughters of the tribes of the Dogon, which were actually Egyptians that migrated to Mali. They were very disagreeable beings, but they were extremely intelligent. They were teachers, and they would come up in the evenings because to avoid the intense sunlight, and teach the people under the trees agriculture, mathematics, healing, etc. You know what I mean? Astronomy. And these teachers used to love to eat the dates, the sweet dates from the date trees there. But they would impart a lot of information in exchange for them bringing the young virgins to them so that they could interact with them, sexually. And it wasn't because they were attracted to earth women particularly, but because they were from a different star system. They had breathing problems, just like many of you here. Now, I wouldn't say many, but some of you here, like myself, for example, I suffered as a child from asthma. It was pretty terrible. In fact, more than once, my mother had to suck the mucus out of my nostrils all the way to the hospital to make sure I didn't die. But some of you have respiratory problems because you have that extraterrestrial DNA and you're not used to breathing in this atmosphere. So they wanted to tie into the vine, so to speak, blend into the humanoid race so that they could spiritually walk about on the earth plane and breathe comfortably, etc. In other words, have an earth body. But let me say, a lot of these beings are described as the Anunnaki. Many different forms of Anunnaki. You have agreeable and disagreeable in every species. Now, these Anunnaki, they have leaders there, a hierarchy, Anu, the heavenly one, and then you have Murdoch and Enki and Enlil, those reigning in order. But there's a book called The Lost Book of Enki that was by Zachariah Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet. And I just wanted to read the introduction, the words of Indupsar. In other words, he was the master scribe, son of Eridu City, servant of the Lord Enki, great God. In the 7th year after the great calamity, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, I was summoned by my master, the Lord Enki, great God, benevolent fashioner of mankind, omnipotent and merciful. I was among the remnants of Eridu who had escaped to the arid steppe just as the evil wind was nearing the city. And I wandered off into the wilderness to seek withered twigs for firewood. And I looked up, and lo and behold, a whirlwind came out of the south. There was a reddish brilliance about it, and it made no sound. And as it reached the ground, 4 straight feet spread out from its belly, and the brilliance disappeared. And I threw myself to the ground and prostrated myself, for I knew that it was a divine vision. And when I lifted my eyes, there were 2 divine emissaries standing near me, and they had the faces of men, and their garments were sparkling like varnished brass. And they called me by name and spoke to me, saying, "You are summoned by the great God, the Lord Enki. Fear not, for you are blessed. And we are here to take you aloft and carry you into his retreat in the land of Magan, on the island amidst the river of Magan, where the Seleucids are." As they spoke, the whirlwind lifted itself as a fiery chariot, and I was gone. And so when it does, son, it gives you insight into all the prophets being taken up in crafts in the Bible. Jesus was taken up, Moses was taken up, Elijah taken up in a fiery chariot. And that's the description they had of it in antiquity, because they hadn't any knowledge about UFOs. And they took me by my hands, each one grasping me by one hand, and he lifted me and carried me swiftly between the earth and the heavens. as the eagle soars, and I can see the land and the waters, the plains and the mountains. And they let me down on the island at the gateway of the great God's abode. And the moment they let go of my hands, a brilliance as I have never seen before engulfed and overwhelmed me. And I collapsed on the ground as though, yes.
Well, that's
Somebody, you have. And I collapsed on the ground as though voided of the spirit of life. 12. My life senses returned to me, as if awakened from the deepest sleep by the sound of the calling of my name. I was in some kind of an enclosure. It was dark, but there was also an aura. Then my name was called again by the deepest of voices. And although I could hear it, I could not tell whence the voice came, nor could I see whoever it was that spoke. And I said, here I am, and I've been in the presence of beings like that they could touch me and I could see a semblance of them, but they were really spiritual. Then the voice said to me, Indubsar, offspring of Adafa, I have chosen you to be my scribe, that you write down my words on the tablets. And all at once there appeared a glowing in one part of the enclosure, and I saw a place arranged like a scribal workplace, a scribe's table, and a scribe's stool. And there were finely shaped stones upon the table. But I saw no clay tablets, nor containers of wet clay. And there lay upon the table only one stylus, and it glistened in the glowing as no reed stylus ever did. And the voice spoke up again, saying, Indubsar, son of Eridu City, my faithful servant, I am your Lord Enki. I have summoned you to write down my words, for I am much distraught by what has befallen mankind by the great calamity. It was my wish to record the true course of the events, to let gods and men alike know that my hands are clean. Not since the great deluge had such a calamity befallen the earth and the gods and the earthlings, but the great deluge was destined to happen, not so the great calamity. This one 7 years ago need not have happened. It could have been prevented, and I, Enki, did all I could to prevent it. Alas, I failed. And was it fate, or was it destiny? In the future shall it be judged, for at the end of days, a day of judgment there shall be. On that day the earth shall quake, and the rivers shall change course, and there shall be darkness at noon, and a fire in the heavens in the night. The day of the returning celestial God will it be. And who shall survive, and who will perish? Who shall be rewarded, and who will be punished? Gods and men alike on that day shall it be discovered. For what shall come to pass by what hath passed shall be determined, and what was determined shall be in the cycle be repeated. And what was fated, and only by the heart's will occurring for good or ill shall the judgment come. The voice fell silent. Then the great Lord spoke up again, saying, It is for this reason that I tell the true account of the beginnings and of the prior times of the olden times. From the past, the future lies hidden. For in the past, the future lies hidden. For 40 days and 40 nights shall I speak, and you will write. 40 shall be the count of the days and the nights of your task here. For 40 is my sacred number, as I told you before, among the gods. For 40 days and 40 nights you shall neither eat nor drink. Only this ounce of bread and water you shall partake, and this will sustain you for the duration of your task. And the voice paused, and all at once there appeared a glowing in another part of the enclosure. And I saw a noble table, and upon it a plate and a cup. And I rose up thereto, and there was bread on the plate and water in the cup. And the voice of the great Lord Enki spoke up again, saying, Indubsar, eat the bread and drink the water. and be sustained for 40 days and 40 nights. And I did as directed. And thereafter the voice directed me to sit myself at the scribal table, and the glowing there intensified. I could see neither door nor aperture where I was, yet the glowing was as strong as the midday sun. And the voice said, Indubsar, the scribe, what do you see? And I looked and saw the glowing reed upon the table, and the stones, and the stylus. And the stylus is the pen, the qualamu. And I said, a stylus, as I have never seen before. Its stem unlike any reed, and its tip shaped like an eagle's talon. And the voice said, these are the tablets upon which you shall inscribe my words, by my which they have been cut off the finest lapis lazuli. Each with smooth faces provided, and the stylus you see is God's handiwork. Its handle made of electrum, and its tip of divine crystal. It shall firmly fit in your hand, and you shall engrave with it. It shall be as easy as marking upon wet clay. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the front face, in 2 columns you shall inscribe the back of each stone tablet. Do not deviate from my words and utterances. And there was a pausing. And I touched one of the stones, and the surface thereof felt like a smooth skin, soft to the touch. And I picked up the holy stylus, and it felt like a feather in my hand. And then the great God Enki began to speak, and I began to write down his words exactly as he had spoken them. At times his voice was strong, at times almost a whisper. At times there was joy or pride in his voice, at times pain or agony. And as one tablet was inscribed on all its faces, I took another to continue. And when the final words were spoken, the great God paused, and I could hear a great sigh. And he said, Indubsar, my servant, for 40 days and 40 nights, you have faithfully recorded my words. Your task here is completed. Now take hold of another tablet, and on it you shall write your own attestation. And at the end thereof, as a witness, mark it with your seal. And take the tablet and put it together with the other tablets in the divine chest for a designated time. Chosen ones shall come hither, and they shall find the chest and the tablets. And they shall learn all that I have dictated to you, and the true account of the beginnings, and the prior times, and the olden times, and the great calamity shall henceforth be known as the words of Lord Enki. And it shall be a book of witnessing of the past, and a book of foretelling the future. For the future and the past lies, and the first things should be also the last things. And there was a pause, and I took the tablets, and I put them one by one in their correct order in the chest. And the chest was made of acacia wood, and it was inlaid with gold on the outside. And the voice of my Lord said, now close the chest's cover and fasten its lock. And I did as directed. And there was another pause. Our Lord Enki said, and as for you, Indubsar, with a great God you have spoken, and though you have not seen me, in my presence you have been. Therefore you are blessed, and my spokesman to the people you shall be. You shall admonish them to be righteous, for in that lies a good and long life. And you should comfort them, for in 70 years the cities will be rebuilt, and the crops shall sprout again. And there will be peace, but there will also be wars. New nations will become mighty kingdoms, shall rise and fall. The olden gods shall step aside, and the new gods shall decree the fates. But at the end of days, destiny shall prevail. And of that future, it is foretold in my words about the past of all that, Indubsar, to the people you shall tell. And there was a pause and a silence. And I, Indubsar, bowed to the ground and said, but how will I know what to say? And the voice of the Lord Enki said, the signs will be in the heavens, And the words to utter shall come to you in dreams and in visions. And after you there will be other chosen prophets. And in the end there will be a new earth and a new heaven. And for the prophets there will be no more need. And then there was silence, and the auras were extinguished, and the spirit left me. And when I regained my senses, I was in the field outside Eridu. Seal of Indupsar, Master Scribe. So, anybody have any? Son, what did you feel about Indupsar's story there, or his experience?
You talking to me, right?
Yes.
I felt it was very.
What do we call you right now until you get your new name?
Z or Zybri.
Say it again.
I said Z or Zybri.
Zybri? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Zybri. What did you think of his experience?
I think his experience, a lot of people wouldn't even believe it, but I felt he was.
I'm
I
sure.
think that was really cool. I think that was very cool. Really cool to get an experience from a divine source and to be chosen to do that work, that type of work. To be able to relay a message from somebody up high, for people down here.
Not unlike what you're experiencing right now, you know?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. But many of you have DNA from those beings. I want you to be apprised of that. And many of you, especially those drawn nigh to me, are of the star people. The golden children, the rainbow children. They have many different definitions for you. Because you're not all alike. But you have the same focus. And the same knowing.
Yes, sir.
You're part of the oneness. And it's a wonderful day. And we have much to do in a very short time in order to accomplish it. So undertake to do it joyfully. And your mathal, your inner smile, will last forever.
Indeed.
Now there are beings that are contrary to that from many different star systems, such as Draco. We have people talking in the background. Can we mute our phone, please? Such as Draco. And, of course, Sirius. And Sirius B was part of a tri-solar system because they know that, Sirius A is the brightest star in the sky. Many people call it the dog star, or Kalb. And there's also Sirius C that is now vibrating on another frequency. But Sirius B was a bright star like Sirius A. But Nibiru, on one of his planetary shopping trips, passed by Sirius B, and is the case. They raised up their tiny antenna about the size of the head of a pin to draw energy from the star Sirius B. And they overestimated its ability and making sure they could repower Nibiru. And Sirius B collapsed under the strain. And of course, when it collapsed, and there was an energy drain, you can imagine what life changes there were on the planets that revolved around that sun and depended upon its rays for sustenance. One of those worlds was occupied by reptilians, and they were very upset about the loss of their world, as would you be. And many of the warrior class, they mounted up on crafts and took in behind Nibiru and followed Nibiru across the cosmos and seeking revenge or another place for shelter. When Nibiru passed by Earth, many of them dropped off in what you call the Yucatan today. And people that logged this experience describe it as a large comet. There's a crater there, so if you look up the comet that crashed in the Yucatan, you get a lot about that experience or the impact of it. But because these beings were water beings, they were like an Inky, a merman, like the Cat in the river of Mali. And like I said, they came up and bonded with human beings. They saw the daughters of men, the sons of God, came down, and they saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them all that they wanted, and they went in unto them. And these young females gave birth to men of renown. They were giants in the earth in those days. Now, I hope everybody has a pen and a tablet, because I'd like you to write down the bones of giants being uncovered in Iraq and many different places, and look it up on YouTube and get pictures. You'll be amazed that some of these beings were 17 feet tall. So there's evidence that they were there, the Giganticus, or you hear biblically about Og and Goliath, etc. And you know that these are not earth beings because they had 12 fingers and 12 toes. Now, many of you have experienced seeing men and women, or boys and girls, that had 6 fingers on one hand, or 6 toes, or you've heard about it. I know people like that. And how do you reconcile that with the fact that Adam and Eve had 5 fingers? Except to understand that there are different species here, right? And also the Greys, most of them have 5 fingers, but you should approach them very cautiously. But the ones with 6 fingers, avoid. They're usually very disagreeable beings. But as I said, these things may seem hard to believe, son, but they can be factually proven with just a little patience and energy and research. You should all look up the Dogon tribes in Mali, and you'll find out about the Sagui. Every 60 years, a vortex opens up between Sirius B and Earth, and they have a spiritual ritual that the Hogan, or the Dogon priest, lead the people deep into the forest where they find overgrowth, and they always, every 60 years, they uncover it. It's a brilliant, bright steel craft that's there lodged in the ground where they landed here on Earth. And then they have a secret ritual where they go to a cave that they have. The priest leads them there. And this last time they allowed cameras to be brought in and the outside world to record it. I don't know what they got in return, but I'm sure they got some gratuity for it. But in the caves, they recorded star maps on the ceiling that were drawn out in red ochre. And when they took those photographs back to NASA, they were amazed when they superimposed them over the real star maps that they have now, because you see, Sirius B cannot be seen with the unaided eye. You need large, massive telescopes to see it now, because the light is so dim. It's a white dwarf. But people at NASA were amazed to know that this jungle tribe knew about Sirius B before it was even remotely possible for them to be able to know it was there, which was, again, more evidence of the fact that they had been involved with an extraterrestrial race. And of course, the DNA of the people, that was irrefutably proof. Because when you look up the Dogon tribe, you can look up their people they call the ostrich people. They're black, but they have these very large protruding eyes. And 2 large feet, but they only have 2 giant toes on them, kind of like an ostrich.
So Anubis, he was also a mermaid too, sir.
Say it again.
So Anubis wasn't a mermaid as well, what we call Aquaman, right?
Who? You mean Enki?
Yeah, Enki or Anubis, we would call the new Aquaman or the old Aquaman.
Okay, Anubis was an Egyptian deity of death in the Book of the Dead, but in Mali, it suffices to say at this point that scientists know for a fact that there are extraterrestrial species involved in the whole genome on the planet Earth, and many different species came from many different star systems that are involved. And they all set up different climatic areas to replicate the places that they're from. So that the beings that live in arid climates, they live in deserts, and you got tropical climates and very cold climates for Syrian shaggies. They live where the snow is, and you have a lot of creatures here, like the jellyfish that's been transplanted as a food source for these amphibious beings, or these mermen and mermaids. And that species of jellyfish, they don't have a central nervous system. And definitely...
Was Anubis was a mermaid? Was he the mermaid?
No, sir, he wasn't. And these jellyfish, they've proven scientifically, cannot be tied into the Earth genome in any way. Other creatures are praying mantis, the grasshopper, many species of trees and foliage, fruits and vegetables are foreign to this planet, but all these different species set up these different environments to remind them of home and make it comfortable for them. Okay, the sister just pulled up some information on the Dogon. But you can look up the bones of the giants being unearthed. Did anybody do that right now? That's the Nephilim.
Yes, I did. I did, Messiah. I put it up on YouTube.
And you saw it?
Yes.
The big bones in comparison to the men that were standing by it, for example, that may only be as tall as one of their heads or something, you know what I mean?
They like
these were real giants.
Tall. 32 feet.
Say it again.
I'm like that. They're like 32 feet
33
tall.
feet?
Yeah, 32.
How many feet?
Yeah, about 33. 32 feet tall.
33? Yeah. Some of the biggest of them would reach heights like that, yeah. I've met some like that.
Will we see them in the 5D? Will we see them in the 5D, sir?
I doubt it. You don't want to see them, because if you do, there'll be indication that you went to the wrong place. But I was on a plane in a world before, and I was standing in the field, and I saw these tribal dressed beings with long robes. They were very tall and very dark, heavily melanated. And I can say that they were in that area, that range of 33 feet, give or take. And they were walking across that grassy plain, and there was a big giant stone archway that they dipped down under and then stood up. That archway was so tall. And anyway, they walked right by me and looked down at me. I could feel the ground shake, but I didn't feel, it was no menacing threat from them or anything like that. They just passed by. I've also seen the Cyclops. I've met many different species in many different worlds. Believe me, there are many. You're not alone. And you need to calm your spirits, because the day will come when many of you all will be taken up, and you may be on a sham or a craft capable of carrying 50 passengers, and you may be seated next to a being that looks like a spider or praying mantis or something you never imagined. And you shouldn't recoil or act, shocked, because keep in mind that you are not that body. You're not that situation. You're only watching that happen from above. That you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And that once we are in love with all and we're very conscious of the oneness, they look at you and your appearance is as shocking to them as their appearance is to you. Always keep that in your mind. And understand when you're meeting beings from the cosmos, that don't go by appearances, go by your feelings. Your feelings won't lie. Trust your feelings. If you had bad feelings...
When we see stuff like that, I'm going to cut you off, sir. When we meet
I know you don't mean it, but you're doing it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I said when we meet those type of beings in the 5D, we supposed to all meet up in the 5D.
No, you won't necessarily meet those kind of beings in 5D. Because, let me say, I was taken up 3/13/26. Many of you have heard my account. So was Panabab Yanun. We were taken up together. But he was also taken up in 2003. But in 2013, I was laying on my bed, on my back, the only one on this big corner in this house. It must have been maybe 3:30 in the morning, pitch black, and I was awakened with a strong, powerful wind like a tornado inside the room. It was so strong, it was pulling me up, sucking me up. It was so powerful, I thought it was going to take the entire house up. And I stretched my arms out and grabbed the mattress on the left and the right, and I was holding on so tight, I had the mattress looking like a taco, trying to keep from being sucked up. And another thing I noticed, that the room was pitch black when I went to sleep. It was lit up when I woke up. But there was no central point for the light, no light bulb. It was evenly spread. The light was just a spiritual light that illuminated the whole room evenly. A soft light that I'm familiar with. But while that wind was blowing so strong, I was telling myself, you see, that's why you block all of your blessings through fear. I tell you what, I'm going to let go and fly on up this thing and see. So I let go, and I raised up, and I saw my cat, Pink, at the head of the bed, and she was stretched out with an uplifted paw like a bird dog staring at the wall. And I looked at where her vision was predicting, and there was this black creature on the wall with an oval-shaped body, like a black, big, giant spider, which I don't like spiders. This thing was so big and the wind was so strong, it was flapping in the wind, holding on by just the legs on one side. The other part of the body was flapping in the wind. And I was thinking, the way this wind is blowing in a circle, this thing gonna fly off this wall and hit me in my face. So my cat thinks she ran up and jumped on my chest like usual, and she looked into the eyes of my spirit body because my physical body was still laying on the bed. And I looked in the eyes and I said, kill it, kill it. But I didn't realize I didn't have a voice because I didn't have a laryngeal. And she looked at me like, not this time, partner, I'm not fooling with that. And so I slumped back down, I settled back down, then I raised up again, and I flew up this tube, and I lost consciousness. I lost consciousness. I know I was traveling at a great speed, but when I woke up, I was standing still in the middle of this vortex. And I looked over to the left, and there was a tunnel there, a side tunnel, and there was this ugly creature standing there, burnt orange with skin tags all over his body, and he was staring at me with a very baleful look. And I thought, no, I don't want to linger on that. And so I asked, where's Malachi? And he said, he's up there. I said, well, take me up there where he is. And I flew up there, tunnel, lost consciousness again. And when I came to a stop, I was conscious again, and I was in a masonry room, like a basement. And for some reason, there was a brick wall next to me, and I knew on the other side of the wall there was a big empty room, but I didn't know what was over there, but I knew the room was there. And then I looked over, and to the right in the corner, there was a stairway with a real bright light coming down, a concrete stairway, a masonry stairway. And just looking at it, wherever attention goes, energy flows. I was there. I was either standing or hovering on those stairs. And there was Malachi standing in front of me, and he had a lot of people dressed in white behind him. And his eyes turned solid green, just like I saw them in Atlanta at a ball. But they started moving sideways, back and forth, real fast. Rapid eye movement. And I kept swinging my head back and forth trying to follow him because I was serious and I had questions. I wanted to ask him, what's going on? Where are we at? Why am I here? What, And he didn't say nothing. He just kept letting his eyes go back and forth, and I got real frustrated. And I said, what makes you think I'm ready to be taken up right now? And damn it if I didn't wake up back in bed. Sometime later, my braids had got overgrown and tangled up, dust was everywhere, bills were back there, but I was back. And many things happened to me like that. I remember one time they had a book sale in the Mirror in Atlanta after everybody was starting to move back to Brooklyn. I drove up to buy a lot of those books. I got a lot of cases of books, and they kept giving me the wrong books. And when I got home and emptied the trunk, I realized I had about 3 cases of a book I didn't have any use for at all called The Hebrew Israelites, something about the Hebrew Israelites.
That's what you call L.T. Dunn, right?
Yeah, yeah, the Hebrew Israelites. And I was here living with a sister named Carrie Stevens. And I told her to go upstairs and go sleep that night, because I sensed the spiritual experience was coming on. And I told her, no matter what you hear, don't come down. And I got up. I imagined in the spirit. But in the kitchen, they had binded the craft with the house. They can do that. They can merge your craft and the house. Because these are not their walls, they're yours. Anyway, she heard that whirlwind and came downstairs against my wishes and she saw that bright light. She said the first thing she saw was me walking through the living room with a big smile toward the kitchen. And I had a sword in one hand and a big long scroll over my left arm with a lot of names on it. And I had a long white robe on, and I was very, very tall with a long neck. So she saw me in my true form. But she peeped into the kitchen when I walked in there with my family, and the light was so bright and intense, it burned the secular, it burned her eyes so bad that I had to take her to the emergency room. They were afraid she might lose her sight. And I told her, I told you not to come down, regardless of what you hear. But then after that, shortly, I was taken up again, and I was on a craft, sitting in the back, like on the back of a bus. Had a long corridor. On the right-hand side, they had one of those kinds of long seats, and they had a small person wrapped in white gauze, exactly like an Egyptian mummy, very clean and straight. And I was curious about that. But there was some activity way up in the front, so I walked down that corridor. It was real dark. And I eventually saw Malachi. He had his back against a big concave window in a console with his arms crossed. And I could sense the presence of people on his left and right sitting down on side benches. And he started speaking to them about me in my presence, saying, here comes Ahmed, the man who brought Hebrew Israelite to the planet Earth. I didn't like his tone. disagreed with that whole vibration, so I just turned around and abruptly walked back to that seat way back there. I sit down. What's strange about it, when I got back to earth in this house, I walked in the kitchen, and there was two big boxes there, Hebrew Israelite books, sitting in the middle of the floor in the kitchen. So they put them there to let me know that wasn't a dream, brother. But anyway, when I sit back down on that back seat, and I've been on that crap before. One time when we got our barytheric glands, I was on one knee and I looked up at him and he looked down at me and said, well, now that you can do anything, what are you going to do? And I thought about it for a minute. And I looked up at him and I said, well, I don't know. I really don't know. And that was the true answer. I really didn't know. But when I sit back down on this trip, there was like a pipe that comes out of the roof like a metal pipe, and the top flipped up, and a dummy popped up out of it. Popped up out that pipe and looked at me and said, you be dead before Christmas. I said, you're a dog of mine. I said it so loud, and so the whole ship shook. And I was back. And that Christmas had passed by 4 or 5 times. That didn't work out. But understand that he and I are counterparts. We share the same oversoul. We're just alike.
You're right.
Except that we're opposites in every way. He taught a class on Tamaray where he was teaching the class that we all have counterparts, and when you meet your counterpart, for example, if you're walking towards one another, you can't get out of each other's way. And I took a brother from Georgia named Buck Whipple out to Tamaray one night. It was dark, and they had an event going on. Malachi was walking. He had a crowd of people with him. And I was walking straight toward him. Me and Buck Whipple. And so, respectfully, I was moving out of his way. So I moved to the right, and he moved to the left. So I moved to the left, he moved to the right. We did this 3 or 4 times until I said, wait a minute. Just stop a minute. And then I walked over, and I said, okay, go ahead on, man. But you don't have to be hugged and embraced, etc., like we always do. But there's a lot of...
You love each other?
Say it again?
Y'all still love each other?
Yes, I still love him more than words can say. I remember, I'll give you an example. One night I was living in New Orleans, and we would drive to Georgia twice a month for classes. And wait a minute. And I was going, we were in the ancient Mexican order of Melchizedek at that time with the feathers and all that. And I was late. It was dark. I was walking down the sidewalk towards Solomon's temple. And I saw a little bitty being on the side of the building in the dark. I couldn't make it out, but I felt so much love for this being, like it was my mother or something like that. And the little being started walking towards me, and I made it out. It looked like him. He had a blue navy cap on, knit cap, and a green pea jacket, like in the military. And I thought that was odd. And he walked up to me, and he stuck his hand off me, and I touched his hand, and he said, how are you, young man? And I thought to myself, brother, why do you always do things? Why can't you just be normal and do what is all this? Yeah, but I forgot what I was trying to get in touch with it for something. I forgot what it was, but I forgot what it was. So I walked on in the temple, and he was already inside there, and the bright lights walking up and down the stage teaching. And he was walking with his hands behind his back. He stopped, and he stared at me. Then he started walking up and down the thing again, teaching, and he stopped and stared at me. Then he walked up and grabbed the microphone. He said the oddest thing. He said, from this day on, my word for greeting no longer will be shalom. It'll be rahubat. And I thought to myself, what you doing now? Exercising your power? But that's what it is. It's rahubat now. It used to be Shalom Aleichem. Many of you all remember that. But he changed it that night in order to earmark it for me so I wouldn't forget. But I already knew who he was. But at that point, I didn't really know who I was. For him to keep saying that Ahmed and I are one. We just alike. We the same.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah. It is what it is. So it's like a joke. You have to be there, right? But let me say many of these disagreeable beings are involved in the earth cast. You got a lot of them in underground chambers in the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico and Doshe and a lot of different places. You'd be amazed how much black money they spend on these underground bases. And they have bases on the moon and Mars and various places out there. But all these beings are not agreeable. And Doshe, for example, way underground, they have levels. They have one level, one of the deepest levels, they call it Nightmare Hall, where they conduct a lot of genetic experiments, right? And boy, they got some ugly rascals in some big glass tanks with bubbling water, just like on TV. They got some ugly, horrible nightmares down there. I want you to reflect on that when you start seeing these ancient cultures with these people like minotaurs, with human bodies and a man head, or a man head and a horse body, or understand they were doing things. But imagine them doing that with spiders and people or something. They got some crazy stuff in Nightmare Hall, literally. But a lot of these beings, for example, the ones from Sirius B, they feel we're obligated to give this world to them to replace the home they lost. And they're very serious. They've been working like termites in the dark, going into the genome, and because they're brilliant, they work their way up to higher echelons, principalities, and wickedness in very high places. Not on Trump. I won't call any names, but they work themselves into the highest places in pyramid structures, because what it is now, they got a full thrust thing going over to take over the world and make it theirs. And they want to kind of delete the population here and bring it down from 7.5 billion to like 500 million. Just enough to be servants for them, to make this their paradise, and you all their slaves. People that are shocked by this information should do research on FEMA camps. The bullet trains, they have these large silver trains, double deck, with the ankle bracelets and handcuffs on them, and these large places, facilities that they gas you in, and pre-dug graves, and these caskets that are made for 3 bodies that are stacked up to the ceiling that you find on the side of the road, and everybody is so used to seeing them, you don't even try to describe the purpose anymore. But those are coffins to hold 3 bodies at once. And they have these secret armies and air forces, etc., that are larger than the ones that they have in the visible. But they don't have green tanks. They got brown tanks and brown planes and helicopters. They use black op helicopters sometimes. But you got some people that videoed these. There was one sister in Jersey that was driving by one of these air forces, and the planes were out there in rows. And she was driving. She said she must have drove about an hour and a half and didn't run out of planes in length or breadth or depth. So what she was describing, and I saw a brother on a bridge photographing tanks on trains that went as far as the eye could see on both sides of the bridge and on both tracks, on double tracks. So understand that they're closing a lot of Walmarts, example, that are very profitable, and use them for staging areas to make these things, a lot of these things. And if you imagine it, why is he talking about that? That got nothing to do with me. But if you can try to imagine the kind of figures I'm talking about numerically, white folks play with a lot of things, but money ain't one of them. If you think they're spending all that money on all that gear and these tanks and all this military hardware for nothing, you have lost touch with reality. It may frighten many of you to face the conclusion that I'm a black person, they're doing this for me. Well, not only you, but you're the first on the list. Many of you right now are receiving mail, and you see a tiny little dot on it, red or blue, color-coded, and it's the government letting you know that you're going to be in a group that they're going to reserve for slaves to work you to death. And then there are many of you that are marked for death. They call them useless eaters, people of a certain age or a certain health that don't have a background in utility or professions that they can utilize. In other words, you don't serve a purpose that they can use. So there's a lot to this that I'm not going to say on the phone and verbalize, but if you're really smart, you pay attention to my words and you research everything I tell you to write down and start studying it. Because certainly thou wert heedless of it, but today we are removing from you your veil so your sight will be sharp. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking. Time for thinking ahead. They listen to me. All right. What kind of questions have we created?
So it's good for us to make it to 5D?
Yes, that'll be salvation paradise. And remember that you have certain criteria that you have to meet to qualify to make it to the new heaven and new earth. And we have to first learn that the Most High created us with 2 ears, 2 eyes, and just 1 mouth, so that we could look and listen twice as much as we speak. You follow?
It's very intelligent, yeah.
It is. It's to be adhered to. All right, next, who else has a question or a statement?
I have a question, Amu.
I'll do my best. Speak up.
All right. Are there certain beings living inside the tree? 'Cause I have seen a clip on YouTube. Are there little men living inside of a tree, like little people?
Can somebody tell me what he asked?
He said, is it time about people that live inside of the tree?
Get off the speakerphone. Don't ever speak on speakerphone, my brother.
I'm not on
Get right in the phone and speak up so people get...
I'm not on
speakerphone.
If you let me speak, please. All right, my question is, are there beings living inside of a tree?
Inside of the what now?
A tree. Are certain beings living inside of a tree?
Inside of the tree?
Yes.
He's speaking of duendes.
That may be your experience, but I've never experienced that. It's not an experience I can relate to. It's my first time hearing about beings living inside of a tree. Is there more you want to clarify or expound?
No, I have to look it up more, but I just wanted to ask you because I've seen it on Facebook on our pages, so I'm just gonna look into it more. And I'll collaborate on it more when I get to it.
I hope you're not dealing with that I hate to say a lesbian sister, right? Because she's always talking about the trees. It's inside the trees. There's a sister that's got a large following. There's a sister that has a large following of females And she's always bragging how they buying her new vehicles and homes and this, that, and the other.
Oh, no,
But,
I'm not Messiah.
She was talking to me. We can sing together, but we can't talk together. She was talking to me a long time, and I healed her, and there's a lot of things she benefited from me. And I found out she was getting information from me and regurgitating it to her classes to great financial benefit. And I was disturbed about that. So I asked her to introduce me to her class, and one night she did. And while those sisters were there, I came out of the blue and performed a visible miracle for them. Like I did for a brother in Dublin, Georgia. He didn't believe it was me. And I was trying to heal him from hepatitis C, and I needed him to have faith in me as a healer. So I appeared to him to his right in his room as a bright ball of light. He said, "Amu, is that you?" I said, "Yeah, that's me, brother." Yes, me. And his name is Warren. Big, tall brother, used to drive an ice cream truck on Tamaray. And he's okay now.
Okay, well, I have another question. Can you tell me more about Planet Anu when he says I'm from above you to below? But above is Anu, right?
You want to know more about? Okay, you sound. I'm gonna tell you the truth, brother. You sound muffled to me on the phone. But you want to know? Do I know something about? Can I tell you more about Anu or Enki?
Yeah.
Okay. Enlil and Enki have a numerical value of 40. Murdoch has one of 50. And Anu has a numerical value of 60. However, there is a galaxy out here that's controlled by women, dominated by females. And the highest mathematical female there, she has a number of 55, which is just under Anu and just over Murdoch. In case you ever wonder why you never see female angels involved in this Earth experience.
But don't Anu got a counterpart as well?
Say it again.
Do Anu, Eliu Air has a counterpart as well.
I'm sure. I've been to his throne too. You know.
What was you saying about Anu, Messiah? I'm trying to
Okay, what's the question about Messiah, Ken?
No,
I mean about Anu.
Before you got interrupted, I want to know more about Anu. You wasn't explaining, and you just got calls.
Okay, what would you like to know about him? He's very tall. At least 13 feet tall.
Be talking to one of them, man.
Yeah, I'm in that family. He's very thin, and very dark, heavy melanated. But he can appear in many forms. Like all angelic beings, I don't want to use the word shapeshift, but they can take many forms. In the same way, I've told you all many times that you have water and you can put it in a freezer and slow down the molecular vibrations till it takes on the appearance of a solid, like teeth and bones. Or you can take it out at room temperature and it'll melt. It's still affected by gravity, but it's fluid. But if you pour it out, it'll drop to the floor, just like ice. But if you put it in a pot under a high boil, high fire, it'll agitate, stimulate the molecules so they'll vibrate very fast. You can see the water turn. A lot of sisters can identify with that when you boil an egg or whatever. But as it vibrates faster and faster, it shifts from a liquid to a spiritual state. You call it gas. And when it's and that spiritual state is no longer affected by gravity or restrained by a parameter. It expands, and the steam rises. It goes up rather than down. In fact, this is how the angels ascend and descend up and down Jacob's ladder, which is your own spinal column. So when you see in the sky, like a mist or a cloud, or even in your room, these are beings that are interdimensional, usually elders, that are trying to shift the polarity from negative to positive to help you. But there are crafts that you can see in a cloudy substance against the blue backdrop of a clear sky. And then you see crafts come out of them. That's what you think. But it's actually the cloud, the gas or the steam or vapor. That is the craft. It's interdimensional. And it's spiraling down to this plane. And then it appears as a physical craft. You follow me? And these beings can do the same thing. They can appear and disappear by raising and lowering their vibrations. In fact, I found out and discovered recently that there are many beings that are teaching all over this world, in London and in England and different places, in Hollywood. There are beings that are teaching and developing quite a cult following. But I recognize, like many people that have been with me for a long time, that they loosen. In other words, they're biting off our doctrine. They've been listening to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they're rearranging the information slightly, but they're saying the same things that I've been teaching you all for years, like everything's in the same place at the same time, just vibrating at different frequencies and all these concepts. But what does that tell you? Their delivery you think is better for you? Or that they have better graphics in their videos? Whose fault is that? Is it mine or yours?
It's yours when they're stealing your stuff.
Yeah, well, they're stealing our stuff. I don't know. It belongs to all. But my point is, ask yourself, do these people have a direct connection with the Creator? Are they of that royal family? Yes or no? And
no.
If the logical answer is no, then stop getting secondhand information. Stop getting secondhand information. You can be led off into the dark like that very easily. You follow me? So don't go with the imitator. Stay with the originator.
I just want them to stop it.
Well, not me, because I think it's a good thing because it's spreading the information. And I want the information out there. But what I don't like is when they alter it, add or take away from it, and put their own spin on it.
Right.
Because they're misleading people thereby. And there are many of them, no matter how brilliant they appear to be, they misconstrue what I say. They get the information slightly wrong. And when you're dealing with cosmic figures and distances and time, if you're talking about 76 trillion years, you can be off 1 minute and throw somebody from heaven to hell. Do you understand?
Thank you.
We deal in exactitudes, precise measurements. And it's not just information coming through me, it's a feeling, a vibration. Some of you can hear it. Darrell Brown, for example, the son of the godfather of soul, James Brown, or James Ingram, the singer. James Ingram told me, he said, the first time I heard your voice, Ahmed, I was still Ahmed, then he said, I knew you was from the planet. And after we talked many years, I found out he had a lot of experiences with the extraterrestrials as well, as have many of you. And some of you are just beginning to wake up, and as your vibrations wake up, you're going to be entering into their realms. In fact, when you meditate, it's best to burn incense and create a kind of a gaseous atmosphere, because that's one that they're familiar with. Anu's favorite scent is musk. Musk. want you to know that.
Moon, they trying to copy you, baby. They trying to copy you.
Well, they're trying to copy the source because there is no big or small in the eye of all. The truth doesn't belong to any individual. But my point is, seldom, frequently imitated, but seldom duplicated. You follow what I mean? There are beings called apostles. There are beings called apostles that are considered to be on the same level as a prophet. But the distinction is, a prophet has direct revelation straight from the Creator, the source. And apostles, they study the prophets. And they give the information from the prophet, from the Creator through the prophet. And they never add or take away one word.
But I hate they do that, man, because you know what I'm saying? I know you speak the truth.
No, what you want is to get the information out. You have to get it out in a timely manner. So what you're looking for are those very special people that are genetically predisposed to expand and get your message out to raise up to 144,000 before times get beyond repair. You follow me?
But I want to give you respect, though, behind it, you know?
Do I what?
I said I want them to give you respect and put, you know what I'm saying, stop disrespecting you and put, you know, represent you the one putting out this knowledge.
I'd like to be acknowledged, but I don't require that. You hear me? My only requirement is to get the message out. But I would like to have...
They claim it's theirs, though. They claim it belongs to them.
Well, time will reveal that. Because everybody has to be judged. You follow me? So, you know, you pretending to be God for devilish reasons because you want the acquisition of fame and power and or money or something like that. It'll be revealed, and you get whatever it is that you earned. So I let those things.
Superiors, they want to blame the knowledge.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. Okay, what I'm saying is this: I'm interested in people that are sincere and are here to work to get the message out, to bring their brothers and sisters in, whom, if they really have this divine love and a sense of oneness, a sense shared by beings like Martin Luther King, for example, that would lay down his life for people he never met before out of divine love. Those types of people I'm looking for. You follow me? And by that, they too will be remembered for all times. Of course, they'll establish a throne for themselves and be a deity and a god. Because the Creator said that if you destroy one man or woman, it's the same to him as if you had destroyed the entire human race. But if you save one man or woman, it's the same to him as if you had saved the entire human race. Imagine a man or a woman that's saving thousands of people, millions of people.
But they want to be the damn star, though, Moon.
Well, it's all right.
They all came from you.
Yeah, well, they all came from the source. But it's like the story of Moses. And Moses is back, too, as well. I want to let you all know that. Moses is back. If any of you have the Injil by Dr. Malachi Z. York, I can prove what I'm saying to you right now. We also have the Injil. We have the Injil and the Holy Tablets on disc as well, in their entirety, in color. Very easy to read, easier than the book to handle, and that's going to go into spiritual practice. Say it again.
It's 10:28.
10:28. All right. What's the weather look like out there in Texas? Huh?
I'm on my way out right now.
All right.
I see.
All right, Cheryl, are you here? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I see a
Yeah,
star.
I'm here.
You see a star? Okay, where you located, son?
Florida, Skim Camp.
Okay, what are you gonna do with that star, my beloved son?
I'm gonna move it in the name of Amun-Re, the Messiah. In the name of Amun-Re, the Messiah, star move clockwise. It's moving clockwise. In the name of Amun-Re, one of the true Messiah, star, go up. It's moving up. In the name of Amun-Re, the Messiah, one of the true Messiah, star, drop down. And it's dropping down. And I see the orange on the trees flashing as well. Thank you, Messiah Taha. I love you.
I love you more. Who else is gonna move a star or perform a miracle tonight?
I can see a star.
I will.
Okay, sister, where you at?
London, Cheryl.
Oh, okay, in London. Okay, I love you. What are you gonna do with it?
Right. Bright star or whatever it is. In the name of Amun, drop down. Okay, moving down. In the name of Amun, move back up.
It dipped to the left a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Move back up. And now move in a clockwise circle. Moving clockwise. Very small.
All right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Cheryl, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for posting on Telegram, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Because
I need some posts,
people start.
I'm not receiving any at the moment.
I've been sending a lot to you. I've been sending a lot to you on 2 different emails.
Oh, wow. I'm not getting anything. Anything.
Okay,
Again.
let me tell you what you do, Cheryl. Go on Facebook and look up Sunny Beeman. SUNNY space BEAMAN. Sunny Beeman. Okay?
Yep.
You can do it while I'm on the phone, and you get all the posts you can handle. But they have to not just be posted in Telegram, but in every media outlet. We have to reach everybody.
Okay, I'll check that out.
And Twitter, you can't put that much at once. I don't know how to. But we need to put down class links and the times and days of classes and the call-in numbers. We need to get those things on there minimally. And in LinkedIn, you can post more. But we got to get this stuff out to all the people in Hollywood, black folks that have influence, like Oprah and you know, the guy that played on Wesley Snipes. He bought those 200 acres next to Tama-Re to establish the God of Amun-Re. But they never introduced him to me and never let them know who I was. You know, but it's sad. But we need to let them all know that we're here. Shaquille O'Neal is looking for the Messiah. We need to let them all know we're here. In fact, one night, he got in touch with me on Twitter, and I moved the moon for Shaquille O'Neal. And he typed back on Twitter, "Wow, did y'all see that guy move that moon over Utah?" And I thought to myself, I thought you were in California. It was just good, close enough. I think a 2.5 hour difference. So he still saw it either way. But yeah, you gotta understand. They call me the hidden one for a reason. There are people that's trying to keep me under the rug, but I can see the effects of my work coming up to the fabric. Okay, I have what you call mass heat power. When I say things, it shifts the consciousness of the world in the same way you have the 100 monkey effect. Remember I told you you could have 100 monkeys in a geographical location, and you could take 7 out and move them 200 or 300 miles away to a different enclosure, and then teach them a tool, gradually a skill, like taking a straw and using it for a tool to get termites out of a log to eat. Well, they've discovered that by some form of osmosis, a singularity, that the other 93 monkeys learn and repeat the same behavior without ever coming in contact physically with the 7. They learn the same information.
Did Chris Tucker get in contact with you, Amun?
Who?
Chris Tucker, he's a Nawabi.
No, he did. They try to keep people like that from me.
Ronnie DeVoe is too.
Ronnie DeVoe trying to get him in touch with me then.
BBD, No Edition.
Yes.
We'll get in touch with you. Got to know what time it is.
Yeah, I know, but you all need to help them make that connection for them. Because there are a lot of beings like lions, you know, what do you call it, wolves in sheep clothing, that are trying to ensnare them and misdirect them so they can use them for their ulterior motives, you know, for their personal gain or something. And they're not really trying to say...
I'm going to try.
Well, don't try. Just do it. Everybody get these people in touch with me by getting them, putting those posts there, and putting my phone numbers and emails and things there, and letting them hear the class links. But don't do like these other people that let their ego, a lot of people let their ego get a hold to them. And they say, well, I'm going to raise up my own sister and my own father or my own mother. I'm going to wake up my grandmother. And they say, I've been trying to teach this person for 3 months and they ain't going to never learn nothing. I just said, forget it. And I tell them, well, now, I hear you. If you really are concerned about them, don't you think it's best to get them in touch with the original place that is coming from, that you got it from? I'm not saying I can do a better job than you.
Your words, man. You're trying to
wait a minute. I'm not saying I can do a better job than you. But I'm saying I was created for this part, you know. Maybe you were too, and time will reveal.
All these people talking about your knowledge.
Well, it's not my knowledge. The truth belongs to all. You follow me?
They think it belongs to them, though.
I just been blessed to channel a certain small, tiny percentage of it. But it's the percentage of the knowledge that's very necessary for these days and these times to get you all where you really need to be. Like I said, before times get beyond repair. And it can be nothing more serious than that. Nothing more serious than that. And you knew this would be a challenge. I opened up the class to try to tell you that the devil is in the world. Go ahead, son.
How much time do we have left?
He's on the phone now. The damn devil on the phone now.
We know that. I know. As far as how much time we have left now, only the Master knows that. The Most High knows that. None of his angels, his prophets or messengers, not even his son. Nobody knows. That's like somebody asking, when do we go for the final picking? Well, if I had that information, I couldn't disclose it on the phone because I'm not only talking to you, I'm talking to them too. And then you could reason, well, the Most High is so powerful, they couldn't stop them from coming to pick us up, which is true. They couldn't stop them, but nigga, they might stop you. You understand?
Long
But
as
now
they
when it's
shoot,
time,
they
listen,
can't stop
wait a minute, please. But when it's time for you to get the information, it's just like on the television when you hear, beep, had this been an actual alert, you would have been given directions and times where to be here, do this, that, and the other. They'll come into your ear with a high-pitched frequency. We'll dial into you with a high-pitched frequency, and after that, it won't be silence, but it'll be clear directions, telling you where to go, what time to be there. But only you know. So there'll be nobody to stop, because there is no defense against an invisible enemy. Are you following me?
Follow.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Everybody business.
That's right.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's about last week.
You broke up. I didn't hear you.
And I heard one of your videos, like I was trying to meditate. I was trying to call down the phone. So I seen a green light go above my head. And right when we heard knocks from all sides of the house at the same time.
I can tell you, son, you have some kind of cosmic connection because they are doing everything in their power to distort all your words on your phone. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
I told you they're on the phone now.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I know they're on the. I can hear them. I can hear them, brother. I know. But what I'm saying, son, you have to try to hold your phone and talk real slow, very loud and clear, and slow for understanding.
Yes, sir.
I know you're soft-spoken, but you have to speak up.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, but I want you to slow down and give me every word to make sure I hear it. Go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to call down the sham prior to hearing one of your videos, and I heard the instructions that were given to me. So I went outside, and I had the Om meditation sound by Dr. York playing. And I went outside, I had the garb, the everything. I sat on the flat chair with the flat back and all of that. Hands on your knees. And I did the breathing technique and everything. And in doing so,
I love you.
Afterwards, I seen the green dot fly over my head. And right when that happens, we hear knocks on the wall from all angles of the house. And I'm outside during this point. But everybody on the inside of the house heard it. Some people heard it on the window. I heard it on the back wall. And my mom was in the restroom. She didn't hear nothing. But different people heard it on different parts of the wall, depending on what room they were in.
Well, let me tell you, there's a part in the scripture that says, in the Quran, it's called a surah of the knocker, the degree of the knocker. But it says that I will knock, and those that will hear me will open up, and I'll come in and sup with them, and they with me. The knocker, or the comer by night, is the Messiah Jesus. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
The knocker is the Messiah Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Right. So on some level you were heard.
Yes, sir.
And you will be blessed in your efforts.
Yes, sir.
Because there are many that hear the truth and they're not moved by it. They have an electric charge, not a magnetic charge. So they listen to it like they're in church, and after the class they hang up, and you know what they do about it?
Nothing?
Nothing.
Absolutely zero. So they think they're going to just sit on their couch and heaven going to come looking for them.
Yes, sir.
That they don't have to earn it like we do, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Crazy. They don't bend any corners like the brother Katat that opened up the class on the cruise ships. Or like yourself. Did you bring people with you tonight, son?
Yes, sir. I got a few people here with me.
Let me hear some of their questions.
You have questions? About the voices. Don't be scared. How do I? No, don't be scared. Tell him. Explain. The same thing y'all told me, tell him.
So, like,
You gotta speak up, you gotta be loud.
I have voices, like, that speak to me, like, I don't know, they're low, they whisper to me sometimes. It's like,
Say it again.
don't know. I have voices
You got to speak a lot louder. See, it's not Texas, and I don't want people that's on the phone, all the rest of y'all to think, listen to me, I don't have the same connection, audible connection that you do. They're trying to muffle people talking to me so I can't hear your questions and I'll give you wrong information for an answer. I know this is true because when I listen to the classes afterward, and I listen to all of them, when you're asking questions and talking, I hear it very clearly over the computer, over the audio file, but I don't hear it on the phone. You have to talk up loud, project your voice, and very clear.
Damn. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Man. I do have voices that speak to me. Just like they're low though. They're low. They're like they whisper to me sometimes. I don't even know what to call it. Did you hear me?
Okay. Yes. They don't have any questions right now?
I mean, who to pray to?
Yeah, who to pray to?
Who do I pray to at the end? Like, I mean, man.
Who what?
This is a question. Like, I go outside, every time I go outside, I greet the sun. And whenever I greet the sun, who am I greeting?
Well, you're greeting yourself.
Reflection?
Because you and I are one, and everything is you, and you are everything. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
That's why when you see the full moon outside and you call in the class, I'm going to project your face into the moon. So that when you're looking up at the moon, you can see yourself looking back down at you. To try to crystallize the reality that you are the moon. And apparently, all the space in between as well. Because there is no empty space, all is all. You are your brother and your sister. That's why you should be motivated to be their keeper. But only highly evolved beings, vibrating on a very high frequency, reconnect with the reality of the oneness. Where they can have that personal compassion for their brothers and sisters that they never met before being lost. What you calling the devil, they don't have no feelings for nobody except themselves, and not much for that. Their soul is not ignited. They don't have that ability to care. You follow me? So they feel like it's not their responsibility. I'm not my brother or my sister's keeper. Well, yes, you are. And there's a penalty for feeling that responsibility. Consider that you may be neglecting your own soul. If you understand that we're all one. All right. Anybody else have a question for tonight? I want to go deeper, much deeper into this reptilian agenda next class, but also I want to give you all a high alert that we're going to have a spiritual healing, a blue light healing session in this class as well, okay?
Okay, Messiah.
Hey, sir, I got a question.
Yes, I'll do my best.
All right, so I have dreams sometimes, and then months or weeks later, the exact details that happened in my dream happened that same day.
Okay, you kind of went off a little bit. But if you said sometimes you have dreams, and the details in that dream, for example, they play out in the world 2 weeks later or something. Is that close to what you said? Go ahead.
Oh, the exact, like everything that happens in the dreams, I can see it play out in front of me.
Yes. Now, the explanation for that is that you're a twofold entity. You're physical and you're a spiritual being. Or the inner being, the real you, God inside the temple. It is not a building down the street. It's a place on the side of your head next to your ears, and your eyes are windows to the soul. So you have an inner vision, inner hearing, and an inner heart. The higher you is on the inside. For example, to prove to yourself there's a duality, have you ever been someplace to get something to eat and you're trying to decide between one thing or the other? One is healthier, but the other is more appetizing, appealing to you. And your higher self tells you don't need that, get the healthy food. And you go back and forward and you argue with yourself, and some people can hear you talking and they say, who are you talking to? And you laugh and confess, I'm talking to myself. You ever remember that?
I do. I do.
Right. Well, that's the duality of you. You follow me? Now, the spiritual aspect of you, it has a vision just like your physical body has eyes, but your physical vision is restricted to the parameters of the room you're in. You can't see past the floors, walls, or ceiling, correct?
Right.
But if you close your physical eyes and use your third eye or your mind's eye, you can see your parents' house from where you are or the school you go to. You can see your best friend on the playground in the 7th grade. And like you said, many times you have dreams or visions where you see things that haven't played out yet, haven't happened yet. And 2 weeks later, it happens in the future from your present perspective. My question is how do you as a physical being see the future like John did on the Isle of Patmos over 2,000 years ago in the book of Revelation? So what we're saying is that there's a being inside of you, an aspect of your consciousness that is not restricted to time or space. You follow me? But can see the future. Can see the future as well as the past. Because like Nietzsche was saying to Mdubzar, the future lies in the past. Because everything's happening in the same place and at the same time. Just vibrating on different frequencies. It's like when you're looking at a DVD on TV. It's a movie that you might have missed the first half of. Then people tell you about the beginning, what you missed, and so when they move, you rewind the DVD and play the beginning over up to the part that you came in. So you see, time is not moving in a linear sense like a straight line from point A to point B. It's actually moving in a circle. You follow me? It's a spiral, like a vortex. You heard the word time tunnel? So the DVD is rotating on a central pin like a planet on a central axis. It's going around and around like the hands on a clock. So you can say it's 3 o'clock now. Wow, it was just 10 o'clock. Time is moving forward. But is it moving forward, or is it just simply going around and around? You follow me?
I do.
What I'm saying is your spiritual aspect is expanded consciousness. And it's not trapped on a timeline. That's why you're immortal there. So, when I speak to you all about being able to earn a seat in the new heaven and the new earth, for the former things will have passed away, I simply mean that you turn yourself inside out in your perspective of who and what you are. And you come to the realization that you are not that body, you are not that situation, you're only watching that happen from above. You are actually, the higher being is the constant about you, the immortal. So when you raise up to a spiritual vibration, like steam out of a hot pot, you're no longer affected by gravity like Jesus walking on the water. You're no longer time barred. So you become immortal. You vibrate on a higher frequency. So when it describes that places, there'll be no more hunger, no more thirst, no more crying, no more pain, no more death. For the former things will have passed away, because you have been one of the fortunate ones, the elite, and have invested in raising your consciousness to the point of frequency that you have really turned yourself inside out from a physical to a spiritual being. And no, you don't have to physically die in order to achieve that. But you all make reference to it as the avatar. We call it an Ilmutijazadeh, which is divine incarnated in flesh. So God can walk in the cool of the garden on earth. You follow me? Malachi Z. York is a form of a deity or God. So am I. Because judge the tree by the fruit it bears. You in the presence of divine, when you can see a person doing the things that God does, you hear me? Not just reckless cries about I'm God and trying to sound heavy by regurgitating memorized material. Because the information coming through a God and not simply from him. A God can be umai, mother taught, which is universal, not simply university. You follow me?
I follow you.
That would include a Wapian University. So you got a lot of people out there, university credentials, they've been by the white and black man, and they've been taught a lot, and they memorize, and they're great students, and they can regurgitate things, and they have a common spirit, they can make themselves sound like all-knowing, all this, that, and the other. But the thing is, it's not spontaneous. They can't really come when you ask the difficult questions, like life after death, or how to get to the new heaven and new earth. They can moose and make up things, but they can't. They may be convincing, but it's not really the real reality, simply because of the lack of experience. They've never died before, or been taken up before. So how can they describe heaven to you, let alone give you directions there, when they've never been? You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Now they can listen to somebody describing it to you, and then turn around and repeat that information. But suppose a conscious brother or sister in a crowd raises their hand and ask a question outside of the framework of what they learned. You hear me? What their ego kicks in when they don't want to say, well, I don't know. You got to go to Amun or Malachi. They just start making up stuff with their imagination. And that's where the danger is, you see. They'll try to logic it out, reason it out. That's not the facts. Because you only have to get one thing wrong in order to throw a person from heaven to hell. You follow me? So don't deal with impersonators. You're damaging your soul. Because you like that sister or that brother. They have a common spirit. Or it sounds like they got it together. They sound heavy to you, from your perspective, from where you at? Well, what you do is go by what they do rather than what they say. You can know who you're dealing with by the devil. Because if they're teaching and there's no black or white devil trying to interfere with their message, is because they know that person is a fake and a fraud. They know that. You see? However, if that person is connected to the source directly,
There was no need for them to, like, make this.
they too will be able to perform miracles like the sons of thunder with Jesus or the Sahaba with Muhammad. And they will have a direct connection to the source. You follow me? Like a tree with many branches. It has many roots as well. But it bears the same fruit on every branch. You understand? And people out there trying to be their own tree, rooted in what? Rooted in what? In reality, some fake mess. It's groundless, baseless, gibberish, but it sounds so good. Be you not deceived, beloved. A warning for me. A warning to mortals. Don't be seduced by it. All right. Next question. Now's the time to ask you questions. I'll do my best. Go ahead.
Does this doctrine have a name?
Say it again. Does what have a name?
This doctrine, the things that you go over, like in the Holy Tablet, and just the information itself.
You can call it Nawapu as a descriptive term. But what it is right knowledge, sound right reasoning, and sound right understanding.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
It's the truth.
The bat's the same thing.
Say it again.
I said the bat's the same thing.
Is what the same thing?
I said, is Wu Sabat the same thing?
I'm not understanding the first word you say.
Wu Sabat?
Yeah. Well, there are levels to this. When you're dealing with the Most High, let me be very clear. This is like a baton race, right? So the Most High Creator sends messengers and angels to people at very distinct times of their spiritual evolution. Like Elijah Muhammad or Moses of the past. Abraham. Teach them son of how to eat and be upright. But as they expand in consciousness, or should have by now, he sends in another messenger on another level that thinks outside of the back box even. And no matter how profound that last master teacher was, how brilliant, how real and serious, you should have by now outgrown that level of information, because he should have been able to have by now imparted to you everything that he came to teach. Right? Which means you either stagnate or it's time for you to move on to the next level. If you go to a DVD by Ponda Babianu, you're talking about schools that have been generated by Ponda Babianu. It's all under him. He has a DVD called Proving the Existence of God. Go listen to that in its entirety. And you'll reach a place where you'll say, there's another God here. He thinks outside the box. He's not trapped inside of persons, places, and things. He'll do it a little differently. And he was teaching on the board and chalk. He walks over with an eraser and erases everything he was teaching in his doctrine. And he says, while he's erasing it, and all this old stuff has got to go as old information.
Yeah, I
he said
remember
he'll
that,
do it differently. I know. He said he'll do it differently because he's not a resident. He's a visitor. There's another God here. So we all understand that Elijah Muhammad was a very profound teacher, and he came with a profound doctrine for that day and time. And it was necessary for the people as a step in the ladder, like a notch in your spinal column, to get you to the next what? The next level.
Yep.
For which he told you all to go to the man with the letter Lamb, meaning Dr. Malachi Z. York. And many of you did, but those that didn't, I'm sorry to say, they're left behind in the land that time forgot, still dressed in them old bow ties with that old bead pie and newspaper, gray as a goose, trying to sell a Bilal Speaks. Because they loved Muhammad, Elijah, and they thought he was the final messenger. In fact, they had papers called the Final Call. There's nothing final about the Creator. He has levels upon levels. And I'm the last elder for this equinox, but I'm not the height of his wisdom. Think about what I'm saying. If you learn everything that he brings through me, that'll not nearly be what it is he has to give. So if you're waiting for Malachi or Elijah Muhammad to give you everything you need to know to get to the next level, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be left behind. Because those with a truthful heart will admit to themselves that things are coming through me that never did come through Elijah Muhammad or Malachi. Which is proof that it's coming from the Creator, the original source. No, son, this is a baton race. And you can't get trapped back in Wu, Misubat, and, well, all those different schools that Malachi created because they're under him. It's time now for you to introduce yourself to the great, new, wonderful. Understand the Messiah is back. And that Malachi was sent here merely to prepare you all for my arrival. Now, if you believe in Malachi, believe in that, because he's the one that told you 1,000 times in 1,000,000 different ways that he was merely sent here to prepare you all for the arrival of the real Messiah. He told you, he got a video up, you can look it up, Dr. Malachi Z. York. I am not the Messiah. I am not the Messiah. I never was the Messiah. I never was the beloved Jesus Messiah. I never will be. Repeat. I looked in the man's face in his mouth and he said, I am not the Messiah. Please don't do that to me. I never told you I was the Messiah.
Joshua. Yep.
He's not the Messiah because I am the Messiah. Don't go to sleep like those people with Elijah Muhammad and those before him, because you will be left behind in a land that time forgot. Sure, many things Malachi taught, because it was elevated revelations, were light years ahead of what you understand to be reality right now. But unfortunately, if you missed out on many of his schools, don't miss out on the final school, because that's the one that'll connect the dots. That's your stairway back to heaven. That's the ultimate reality that you need in order to get to the next level. And understand that I went through those schools with Malachi and Elijah Muhammad, and I can connect those dots as well. Simply put, there is no way to the Father except through the Son. As long as you hold on to that reality, you'll be safe. If you keep making excuses to look back, because God never looks back, then you're going to be backwards, period. Time for thinking ahead. Do you understand me, sister? Did I answer your question, sister?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, he did. Very good. Thank you.
I hope that was clear. I didn't mean to upset you in any way, you know, because I know people are very sensitive about their beliefs. But remember, we deal in facts, right?
Mm.
Have you ever moved a star?
No, I practice though. I practice every time, but I just never move.
Okay, why don't you step outside right now? Why don't you step outside and look at the sky, and we'll do it together right now.
It's cloudy. I would have to drive somewhere. I would have to go to.
Oh, I see.
I'm in Chicago. It's cloudy here.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, Heaven. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right. But let me tell you, you got a
Can
lot
we
of
move the
time.
star?
You got sweet. Said, yeah, I can move star. Is that what you want to do?
No. Yes, sir. I know you can. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Remember, you got beings out here speaking sweet and melodic words from hot mountains. Remember that here.
Yes, sir.
They know who they are, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They know that. And they don't care where it leads you. Because they're selling their soul for earthly gain. They want riches and power and acknowledgement. They want to be famous and powerful and rich. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So they practice being some charismatic leader. But I'll tell you, I'd rather be a servant in heaven than a king in hell.
Yes, sir.
Because there's glory in that. To thine own self be true. Be careful what you ask for. Because it's all out there. And if you flirt with things, jumping from one line to another, it'll be confusion to you.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't mean that I'm trying to throw out anything from Elijah Muhammad, his predecessors, and definitely not from Malachi V. York. But I'm building on it. I'm adding to it. I'm connecting the final dots. It's like a baton race. You have one sister start off with the baton and she's running fast. But she's got to run as fast as she can for the handoff to give it to the next sister. And she's got to run as fast as she can so she can hand it off to the next sister. But until that final sister gets across the finish line, ain't no need to keep focusing on the one that started off or the one in the middle. There would be no finish without the one in the beginning or the middle, but I'm saying the finish is the one you need to be focused on. You hear me? Even though as a collective, they did it together. Like the Most High says, Amantu Balahi, Wamalakati, Wakatubihi, Wabasulihi, Yomi Alapari. Make no distinction between my messengers, my prophets, my angels, and my scriptures. Make no distinction between them. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Because they're doing a different job with different people at different times for different reasons. Okay?
I heard somebody last time you said it, and I didn't like that.
That's okay, you know, because a lot of times people react to information in different ways. That's all. You hear me? You have to be used to that, and you can't have a thin skin, you know. You just have to hope.
They're trying to be funny, though.
Well, you got to hope when you share information with people that it lands in the right place, there'll be a benefit to them, okay? Ultimately.
Yes.
And remember, nobody can think past what they can think.
That's true.
You can have a 3-year-old child with a wise mother. The child walk up to the mother and say, "Can I have some jelly?" Mama say no. The child come back and say, "Can I have a piece of toast?" "Oh yeah, baby, you have a piece of toast." You give him the toast and say, "Can I have a little jelly on it?" "Yeah." But the baby lick the jelly off and throw the toast away. You just been outsmarted by a child, you think, right? But the child is outsmarting itself. Why? The reason you said no to the jelly is because you didn't think it was good for them, right? So if they tricked you into doing something for them that's harmful to them, who are they really tricking?
Themselves. Themselves.
Yeah, they're now spotting themselves. You see, I know in my heart and soul, I have you all's best interest at heart. And I'm working on right now getting you all's white robes where that you can just call me up and you can give me your measurements and I can have yours made in pristine white and sent to you. Remember, behold, I looked at Mount Zion, and there stood a Lamb, and with him 144,000, with their father's name written in their foreheads. You all look like a cloud. You'll be dressed in white. And don't worry about where we don't have to be together physically. We meet together spiritually.
Those
That's right.
AirPods are coming.
You see? He was the Lamb. He was the Lamb of the Most High. I looked at Mount Zion and stood a Lamb, and with him 144,000, with their names written in their foreheads. That's their new name. And in their foreheads is not indicative of Muslims that prostrate in prayer until they make a mark on their forehead. It means that he said that by then, that Lamb will have opened up their third eye. You follow me?
Follow.
All right. Anybody else have a question tonight?
What is it?
Anybody want to know my personal number? We need all of your email addresses so I can start sending you posts with free links and information. All of you need to be recording the classes from front to back. All of you need to be recording every class and posting up the post all over the world in every media outlet. Just like you want this truth, your brothers and sisters desperately need it as well, right? And if I've been a messenger to you, you have an obligation to be a messenger to them. Each one teach one. You follow me? It's like Christmas tree lights. When you plug it up in the dark, each light shines brightly in its own color, right? Like flowers, they all bloom in their own season. So don't focus on which light bulb is closest to the socket. Doesn't necessarily mean it burns the brightest. Let's light it up out here. We are all one divine love. Servant to the 144,000. Nikir Afirti, Amun Re'i, Nasser, the final elder. One love. Let's do the job.